Hey everyone, this is Chaka, and I am coming to you with another book review. This was not a part of my book club readings. This happened to be one of those moments where I'm scrolling Facebook and I was just kind of bored. And they have these little apps now that you can download and they have books. And so one of the apps is called Dream. And there was this like usually it's about maybe a chapter and a half, and to continue you have to download the app and purchase coins or whatever. And I've done this before when I did the book for Exporting the Gentleman, and I found out, and it was like a four-part series, and it was really good. Now this book is a three-part series. The first one is called Bad Things to Love, and it's by Britt L.W. Um, Britt L.W. And she wrote this book, and I am going to say I was very intrigued. I really actually liked the book. I didn't think the title kind of fit the book, but it was worth it. The first book was only in the voice of the main character, which was Samantha. She was a freshman at University of Arizona, and she and her best friend Emily, they both went together freshman year. They became roommates in a dorm, and it was basically in her voice from the beginning. Pretty much, it gave a tortured soul erotica kind of genre. Pretty much just young and dumb to me. The first book kind of was one of those moments. So I'm just gonna do the first book right now. Like I said, it was called Bad Things to Love. And my issue wasn't so much about the youth of it all or the author's purpose. I think she originally started with just the mindset of Sam. Now, Sam, as we get into it, she's the main character. She and her best friend, when her best friend was pretty much like really outgoing and always had boyfriends, Sam was kind of an introvert who was very smart, and she wasn't that pressed about boys. And so she pretty much the author explained her as pretty much being a bookworm who ended up basically, and it's true because I've seen it happen when I was in undergrad. You get away from home and you go hog wild with all this freedom. And to me, Sam just kind of did that. I liked her at first. So here's for the first book. Something I liked is that Emily was trying her best to get Sam to try new things. You are in a new place, don't hold yourself back. But Sam was, like I said, she was an introvert. So that was one of the things that, as a freshman, I think a lot of times freshmen need to learn how to navigate life. It's like it's a lot thrown on a 17, 18-year old. Um, because that's what it is you trying to learn how to navigate your life as a as an adult. So Sam, that was some of the things that I like. Some of the things I dislike is the push pull. Um, Sam ended up falling for this guy named Levi. He another tortured soul. Um, which I hate to say it, but I've said it before some years ago. Guys get hurt in eighth grade, and they take this out on every woman thereafter. Come on, y'all, gentlemen. It's time for y'all to figure out how love goes and stop letting the first girl that broke your little heart, you know, be the reason that you go around doing the most with everybody else. Also, I didn't like, I understand that a lot of times these books are being written as they are being pushed out on these apps and on social media, but like the editing was horrible. Um, like there would be sentences that I had to actually structure myself in the reading because it would be like you and then it'd be like that wasn't how that sentence was supposed to be structured. So that was one of the things I think the editing was very off. So that was what really made me not like. And it's been a couple of books like that that I'd be like, oh, okay. But that was the issue for me there. The setting for this is at the University of Arizona. And I end up loving, even in the end, Levi, um, because although he was a tortured soul, as I was reading the first book and he kept trying to push her away, but he was drawn to her. I think I knew then that, oh, this is that guy that he needs someone to walk him into a love affair and make him understand that he was hurt once, but it ain't always like that. He ended up, and he was like older than her. He ended up falling for this freshman, and originally he wasn't. She said it at the first meeting. She's like, "Oh, I'm not gonna like him," and he pretty much didn't like her at first. He kind of stayed away. Um, but she ended up having this date, like her first week or two there. Her and her best friend had started trying to meet people, and her best friend met some guy that was Levi's close friend up front in the very beginning. And so all of a sudden they were just like attached at the hip. So some jock ended up hitting on Samantha and asking her on a date. So when Caleb, which is Levi's close friend who dates her best friend Emily, they were all in her room and she was like, "Oh no, I have a date." And they were all like shocked. So Emily was like, "Oh, tell me." And so everybody started laughing except for her, Emily, Sam, Emily, and Levi when she told who the date was. Well, the date was a total gentleman in the very beginning. And then he tried to pretty much date rape her and film it. And Levi was the one that came in for the rescue. He like literally ran him off. Now Levi is this guy who's all tatted up, grunge type guy, but he works out. And the jock ended up running off and she ended up being posted on a web page at the school pretty much in her bra and panties because the boy ripped her clothes off and he had videoed it. And so he ended up getting expelled and she ended up kind of getting her ooh, mojo back. Well, he still stayed away from her. Levi still stayed away from her. And then he tried um, to befriend her, but she was kind of rude to him. So he was like, yeah, I'm going to leave you alone. And he walked off. Well, they tried to hook him up with another friend of Caleb's, and that was an issue. And so Levi kind of like told the friends, back up. I like this girl, and she's off limits to all y'all. So I didn't like Robbie. Robbie was the one that everybody kept saying, oh, he's this, he's that. I can spot a creep from a mile away. You want, to me, you want to keep telling me all the negative things about the one boy that, even though he isn't trying to get with me, to me, that's a red flag, right? No, you got a reason for you trying to dog him. So I didn't like him. He was one of the ones that I just didn't like. It was like I said, Sam was very life immature because she was sheltered. You know, she was raised by her dad, and her mom walked away from her when she was a child, a baby. So she was very life immature. She had had a boyfriend, but it wasn't anything, no hearts and flowers like that. They broke up, and it wasn't that serious. So she pretty much threw herself into her books. Me personally, I feel like Sam needed to also pay attention. There was always a push pull situation. Sam got lost off campus and was robbed and hit in the head by with a gun. And Levi is yet again he turns into this knight in shining armor, even though she keeps thinking he's just some grungy thug. And he's the one who gets her and takes her and tries to take care of her. But they have this weird push pull that they keep going through, and she only hears bits and pieces of conversations, and she doesn't listen to the whole thing, and that's why they keep having the push pull. Um, so she had the worst date. Then she turned around. She turned around and she turned around. She got robbed, and then it was the next thing was she wanted to figure out why she liked this dude so much. But he actually told her, I'm not good for you. And he wanted her to go away. But like I said, the push pull is he liked her more than he wanted to admit. But he also told his friend thereof or adjacent that he couldn't date her either. And he would do stuff like, oh, well, why don't we go out on a date? Or like, why don't you do this and that? So it was a lot of push pull between these two characters. And like I said, it was only in Sam's voice. Um, the father, Levi's father, was the sheriff in the town and where the school was. And he also told her, you know, my son loves someone that you look almost identical to, like almost like a twin sister. I think that should have been flushed out a little bit more. Even in the first book, I didn't understand where we were going with that. The changes that the main character kept going through is she, I was like, I need you to go to class because you're doing the most on this campus. You know had a date that went wrong. You done got robbed, something went wrong. You trying to date between these two friends. you keep figuring out you like one, and you keep half-ass hearing sidebar conversations, and then you want to jump out here and say, well, he he still likes so and so. You don't know what you're talking about because you didn't listen to the whole conversation. So she would do dumb stuff and he would try to fix it. Um, and then she ended up having this big issue where the two friends got into a fight and she bust her head on a computer desk and had to go to the hospital. And the one guy, Levi, he called her dad. He was kind of showing that he actually had, that's what made me like him, was he was showing a lot more responsibility than you would think. You know, he was a tortured soul, but he also was like, listen, let me call your dad because you got to go to a hospital and get stitches, and we need to, tell your father that this is what's going on. So when the two friends got into it, whatever the case may be, like I said, she ended up sleeping with Levi. She really liked him. Robbie tried to force her to sleep with him, which was stupid on all accounts. And those two men got into it again. And Levi said some very nasty things, which I think it was just more machismo than it was anything. And she decided, I'm leaving this school and I'm going back home. She went back home and she started doing a lot of daredevil moves and just stupid stuff. But as she was getting on the bus to go back home, which her father was 2 hours away, um, she was doing stupid shit. Let's just start there. And so she went to get on the bus, and Levi showed up and said every single thing that he was trying to say he didn't want himself to be. That I want you, and I'm sorry. And she drove off, bus left. Instead of her trying to actually listen to Levi, she decided that what he was talking about wasn't real. So she decided to get rid of her phone for a little while. And out of the clear blue, Levi showed up at her dad's house. And I said, that's a strong move for a young man in his very late teens, early 20s. I think he was 20 because he got arrested for underage drinking at one point because he got into a fight with Robbie about that. Um, and he talked her into going back to school and told her, I care about you and I love you. Now, again, these are 19, 18, 19, 20-year-olds who are still trying to find their legs. So I give them a little bit more, just an ounce of pity, although they were childish, all of them. Excuse me, I mean all of them. Um, in the end, let's see. It didn't change my views. It just proved that she should have been a grown. You want to be grown. You're playing in a grown person's wheelhouse, and yet and still you keep doing dumb stuff. Like, why would you continue to do something dumb? You want to say you're smart and intelligent, then do the work and become the smart and intelligent woman that you are. Honey, move on. So, I just didn't. I thought it was like, okay, you ran away and you went home, and then you come back, and like I said, these are hormonal tweens, teens, and 20-year olds, and you you really believe that, okay, because he said he loved you, okay, he did something stupid, yet and still you let the one boy that tried to force you to have sex with him, that was making out with someone while he had you on a date in the alleyway of a club, he told that, oh, he was with somebody else and while you were gone. But you didn't come at all. You didn't show up at my dad's house at all. I wasn't with you, and you talked yourself into, talking me into coming back to school. You're trying to be mad because, he told me he cared. And I just thought that was tacky. I think that was the issue. And like I said, they didn't flush out Levi's previous girlfriend that looks like her. And what's the real story there? That would make me happy. Um, like I said, I like the book. I think it was a good read. I read it in like a day or so. It was a few chapters. It was like 25 chapters, I think it was. Let me see if I can find it really quick. Um, Sorry. I think it's like 25 to 30 chapters or actually it was 40. Hold on. 44 chapters. Like I said, it was 44 chapters of push pull between two grown-ups that were still too young to be playing in the arena that they were in. My feedback to the author that would be this: give me something that explain why she looks like his ex-girlfriend, because due to the fact that her mother left her when she was a baby, and he was 2 years older than her. What was that? What was going on there? I really would like to know that. Um, what's going on with that? Why is the ex-girlfriend, and beyond him saying, oh, she looked like my ex that I did love, that was why he kept pushing her away. But he found out that she was a whole different person and he fell in love with her. Why was the ex brought into the conversation? So I was kind of like, y'all could have flushed that situation out a little bit more. That was my feedback to the author. The end of um, the first book. Uh, the end of the first book. Let me see. Was she ended up moving in with Robbie because Robbie told her about Levi and his ex girlfriend. Um, and she ended up moving in with Robbie. Robbie and her were roommates. She told Robbie that they could be good friends. And that was one good thing I did like, that she was smart enough to put that in her mindset that no, Robbie, I like you as a friend. But she did something very teenage for me. She ended up meeting a neighbor who was very attractive. and rich and older, like closer to 30 than 20, older. And he all of a sudden told her about a job that was in LA that his mom, which was she was going to school to be a veterinarian. So I could get you into a school there as well as get you a job because my mom is planning to retire. And she would love to have an apprentice to, turn her business over to. To me, as a grown up, just red flags. You're already going back and forth with two men that go to your school. And the one that you claim your body always loves and wants to be with is the one you keep having to push pull with. You don't just jump up and move across country. You don't know anything about this. So your red flag should have been coming up from gate. But in the end, the ex girlfriend who looks just like her shows up and she had been blackmailing Levi to hurt her. And so I wanted to know what was the whole story here. Give me the full story. Why was she doing that? What does she have over this girl to make him want to even be included in the hatefulness that she had for him? Um, so I didn't like the ending, but that was book one. So um, I would tell people to buy it or rent it or pay for it online. It was pretty good. You know, there is a part two, so I'm gonna do a video on part two in a minute. And I will talk to y'all in a minute. Please rate, comment, and subscribe to my channel. I will talk to y'all later. Bye.